right. Welcome back into the Double Coverage Podcast. Dylan Mel, as always, joined by my co-host, JaVon. For the first time in the history of this podcast, my Philadelphia Eagles are not the reigning Super Bowl champions. We have a new Super Bowl champion. The Seattle Seahawks put belt to ass on the New England Patriots, 29-13. Last week, JaVon predicted the Patriots to win. I predicted it to be a close game. Seattle blew them out the water. This was something that even though the Patriots were only down 9-0 at halftime, even though at the end of the third quarter they were only down 12-0, this game felt like it was a 3-score game from the second quarter started, if you ask me. This was a dominant defensive performance start to finish from Seattle. They were absolutely the most complete team in the NFL this year. Sam Darnold goes from drafted third overall by the Jets, gets mono, sees ghost, removed from the Jets, backup quarterback, Carolina, doesn't work out, backup in San Francisco, Minnesota, wins 14 games, but in the last 2 games of that season, has his worst 2 games of the season, goes back to looking like Jets Sam Darnold. Minnesota kicks him out the building for J.J. McCarthy. Seattle trades away Geno Smith to pay Sam Darnold $10 million less per year than Geno Smith is getting to save some money on the cap and take a shot on a guy that they think still has some left in the tank to Super Bowl champion. To me, one of the greatest individual player stories in the NFL in our lifetime.
I mean, bro, look at the football stories this year. Like with Mendoza and Sam Darnold, it's just insane. Nobody could have predicted
the year of the underdog.
It doesn't make any sense. Like this is like some shit that happens once every 25 years. Like I don't think this is going to happen again for a very long time. Like the luck that had to go their way. I mean, they were down. They were a good team regardless of what happened in the AFC. But man, anybody could have put up a better fight than the Patriots. The Steelers would have put up a better fight. I have no doubt in my mind.
I do think Seattle was the correct winner of the Super Bowl this year. I do think they were the best team in football. Your thoughts on the Super Bowl as a whole? I know I saw you on your TikTok on Twitter talking about Drake May and this Super Bowl kind of changing the way you view him. Seattle, do you view this as an all-time defense? Do you view the Patriots as just one of the worst teams to ever make a Super Bowl? Where are you at here?
I think the performance by the defense is kind of overrated. I think it was Drake May. That's just my personal opinion. His pocket awareness was awful. Like there were players open at times. Now, granted, it's not like he had Jackson Smith and Jigba.
It's NFL open. They had a step. Not a bunch of steps. They weren't wide open, but a guy who just finished second in MVP should have been able to navigate and hit more of those throws. I 1,000% agree with you.
I just think from every aspect of the game, they got out coached, they got outplayed, out everything. And it was so confusing to me how they kept letting the exact same thing happen. I feel like the Seahawks, they weren't doing nothing incredibly special. They were blitzing Spoon or whatever.
Yeah, a ton.
They were blitzing him a ton, and I'm like, you guys go to the freaking sideline.
Did you see Witherspoon said that him and McDonald spotted a tell in their film sessions of the Patriots? Part of their line was giving a tell on what kind of plays would be. And that's how Witherspoon knew when to blitz and when not to blitz. And the Patriots never changed the entire game. Yeah, Witherspoon said that after the game. So they had a tell, and, obviously there's adjustments that should have been made. And Drake May, I do think it's fair to criticize him because just a few days prior to that Super Bowl, I had people in my comment section, I'm sure you had people in yours, telling me that I was crazy for thinking Matthew Stafford was the MVP. And I get it, it's a regular season award, but I think what we've seen Matthew Stafford now do every time he played Seattle and what we saw Drake May do in one outing, we know who the MVP of the league was, but also second-year quarterback who only started 4 games in his rookie year, Josh McDaniels needed to make adjustments to make that easier on Drake May. They didn't run any kind of screen plays to Travion Henderson. There was no easy drag route concepts to Stephon Diggs. There was no, hey, let's build up some confidence for Drake May, quickly get the ball to some of our better playmakers until the game was out of reach.
Yeah. I don't like the game plan from Vrabel at all. It was absolutely awful.
Yeah.
And my thing is, they kept letting the same things happen over and over again. And I'm like, you guys go to the sideline and look at these tablets, and what are you looking at? You go out there and the exact same thing happens over
Yep.
again. They just kept doing the exact same thing on defense, and it kept working. And not to mention, like, I get it. Drake May had a banged up shoulder or whatever. He had to get shot up before the game. But this dude is averaging like 65 rushing yards per game in the playoffs, and you don't draw up one design run. There you have multiple downs, fourth and one, 4th and 5, I think, a fourth and short, like 3 or 4 times.
And they're
And
not going for it at
you
all.
got to get, and not one single time, or not even one single play, the whole game, they didn't do a design run play with Drake May at
No.
all, And it's just, it was just disappointing. Like, that was just a
Yeah.
bad game plan.
I thought it was bad, and I thought the game also exposed a lot of the weaknesses that the Patriots have and kind of validated a lot of people who said that the Patriots got to where they got in terms of being the number 2 seed and reaching 14 wins a lot on the back of such a weak schedule. Because when they went up in this game against a full strength Super Bowl contender, they were clearly outclassed. And then you look at their playoff run. Justin Herbert is without his entire offensive line. It's PFF's 32nd ranked offensive line in football for the last 2 months. You look at Houston. Drake May didn't play good against Houston by any means. CJ Stroud just picked the worst possible time to have the worst game of his career. Denver, Bo Nix, injured, not playing. Jared Stidham is there, and you only win by 3 points when a team is on a backup quarterback who hasn't started an NFL game in, I believe, 5 years. Like, it was a Mickey Mouse-esque run to the Super Bowl for the New England Patriots. And it's okay to say that, and you're not a hater. It's okay to understand the Patriots overachieved this year, and because of an AFC playing out where Patrick Mahomes has a bad year for Kansas City and they miss the playoffs, Lamar misses time and the Ravens defense struggles and they miss the playoffs, the Bills still don't put the right pieces around Josh Allen, Bo Nix gets injured, CJ Stroud loses his brain. All those things had to happen for this team to get to a Super Bowl. And when I look at the AFC picture today, if I were to predict who would make the Super Bowl out of the AFC this upcoming season, I'm sorry, the Patriots probably aren't even in my top 5.
Well, they got a lot of cap space to work with next season. Will Campbell was absolutely horrible.
He's a guard, and this was the criticism of him coming into the league. He wasn't going to be able to sustain against the elite pass rushes in this league. We saw it against Houston, and we saw it again in this game versus Seattle. And if the Denver game hadn't been a blizzard and had more drop back passing, my guess is we would have seen it against their pass rush as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about the short arms thing, because I saw a video, or a tweet rather, that said Rashawn Slater's wingspan is only like 1 inch longer than Will Campbell's, and he's one of the best tackles in the league.
I don't think like that's the be all end all, but
I just think he's just not fit for it. He's just not fit for it.
Yeah. It's not his deal. I want to ask you about Seattle. Do you believe that this team has what it takes to go back to back?
Well, I think they're going to lose a couple of important pieces. Everybody talks about their cap space, but they're going to have to.
A lot of those corners are free agents.
Yeah, they're going to have to cough
Josh
up the bread.
Jobe. So is that because? And I don't think it's haterish to say this. I would say no. Like, obviously they have an opportunity, but if you ask me Seattle or the field, I'm taking the field. Since the 90s, the only guys to go back to back are Troy Aikman, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Was Joe Montana in there as well? But we're talking Hall of Famers.
Well, yeah, you said the 90s, so yeah, probably those 3.
It is like you just have to have a high, like an elite quarterback. And I think Darnold is good. And next week we're talking top 10 quarterbacks, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's gets onto some of our lists.
I would honestly,
He's
I
not
mean,
Mahomes.
he just won the Super Bowl. So if you have him in your top 10, you know,
It's fair.
I can understand it,
It's
but
back-to-back 14-win seasons. Obviously, statistically, on Minnesota had a more impressive year, but this year had more team success. It's not to shit on Darnold in any way, but I would take the field.
yeah, I mean, they
It's
got,
not. I don't look at them the way that I look at the Dodgers in baseball. I could put it that way,
yeah, I
or the way
mean,
that I look at the Thunder in basketball.
well, they're loaded.
But I'm just saying. But you don't look at Seattle that way.
Well,
You,
you can't.
I
That
just. I think the NFL is headed towards a lot more parity right now. I don't know if we're going to see a back-to-back Super Bowl winner in a long time,
so
because
do you think
anytime you win, your coaching staff gets plucked and you lose key pieces.
let's just say they kept all of their pieces and
They
Clint
already
Kubiak.
lost. They already lost them though.
Let's just say, I'm just saying,
Okay.
in an imaginary world, they keep everybody and run the exact same everything back. Do you still think that they would win the Super Bowl next year? Do you think they could go back to back?
I think
Everybody
that
else healthy as well.
I think
Chargers
that
tackles,
I think
everybody.
that they could, but I'd still bet the field if you gave me the field at even odds.
Yeah, you got to think Micah's going to be back healthy for a playoff run,
Right.
hopefully. You don't
I
know what
just
Crosby's going to get traded
And
to.
I do think Seattle was the best team in the league this year, but like you mentioned, they got kind of at least an easier matchup out the AFC. It wasn't Patrick Mahomes staring them down the barrel in those Chiefs teams that have been there the last half decade. That wasn't who they faced. In the NFC, the team with the next best roster in football to them, the Philadelphia Eagles, has one of the worst offensive coordinators of all time and runs a high school offense. In their division, the Rams never addressed the secondary, but even that was a one-score game towards the end. San Francisco, in their division, suffers probably the most injuries to key players of any team in football. Green Bay, Mike gets hurt. And you have a lot of these younger teams getting better. The Bears are going to add to that defense this offseason. So to me,
Don't forget, the Lions didn't even make the playoffs.
it's just going to be incredibly hard. I give Seattle all their flowers, but I don't think we're on the verge of a dynasty here in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't think they're gonna have a dynasty at all. Clint Kubiak is. I don't know who they're gonna bring in or who's even left to bring in. They're gonna have
Yeah,
to promote somebody, maybe.
I'm not sure what their plan is, but I will say this. You have Mike McDonald, so with those pieces on defense that you're going to retain, you're going to have a top 5 defense in the sport, no doubt about it. Sam Darnold, I think, is a top 10 to 15 quarterback in the sport. I think he's found a permanent
Fair.
home there. JSN as a top 5 wide receiver. They're not letting Ken Walker walk out the door. They'll franchise tag him if they have to, and they can draft best player available. They'll still be around. They'll still be a contender. And if they get the 1 seed, Seattle's one of the toughest places to play. So it's not me saying that they're not going to win the Super Bowl, but I don't think we're about to have a Kansas City Chiefs-esque run led by Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. It's just not where it's, and I think the NFC is too loaded.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if they were in either conference, like the AFC is not going to be no pushover conference either next year. But
No.
I mean, for the Patriots, man, I feel like people I feel like are kind of being hard on Vrabel, but that defense was ready. They only gave up one
My hot
touchdown.
take is I think it's more likely New England misses the playoffs than makes the Super Bowl next year.
Wow. I don't know about that. I got to see how the offseason goes, bro.
Yeah,
They have so much money.
we'll see where it goes. I'm just right
Yeah.
now, today, that's how I feel. Maybe I'm over.
I
maybe
thought I was low on Drake May. You were
it's not a Drake May thing. To me, it's just I thought their roster got exposed for every hole in it in one game. I thought 4 quarters, biggest stage of the world. We saw their O-line isn't that good. Their weapons can't separate against top-tier defenses. Their run game isn't as legit as people thought it was. And they don't know how to use their backs properly. And Drake May isn't the elite quarterback that he was peddled to be all season because he was getting numbers against weaker competition.
Yeah, they got to go out and get
Drake May is in a similar spot to Sam Darnold, man. Like
really?
That's where he's at right now. Drake May's not a top 5 quarterback in the sport right now.
Yeah, that is true. I just feel like they need to make some moves, like follow the Chicago Bears blueprint. They went out and traded for the protector of the year.
Here's the thing. I think New England was ahead of schedule, and maybe I'm falling victim to this. It will hurt people's view of them that they were ahead of schedule. Because you look at Chicago, like if New England lost in the AFC Championship to a healthy Bo Nix, I think we're less critical of them today than we are with the performance that they just put up on the biggest stage in the world.
I feel like the only reason is because they played a whole half the game in a blizzard.
Well,
I
right,
feel
but
like,
they
but
also
he still
played so bad versus Seattle. But
Drake Mace played horrible, but like the fact that half of the game was in a blizzard is like they cut him some slack. This game
yeah,
was on neutral field, although it was hella Seattle fans in there in
well,
attendance.
yeah, I mean San
Like,
Francisco to Seattle, New England to
yeah,
San Francisco, like
yeah, it was hella. I mean, it looked like it was a home game when they were showing the crowd.
yeah, we knew how that was going to turn out. But those are our thoughts on the Super Bowl. I want to move to the more prominent section of the podcast. We each came with our 3 biggest lessons of the NFL season. I'm going to kick it off here with mine because it is kind of related to Seattle. You mentioned to me in the pre-show that we might have one of the same lessons. I think this could be it as well. Mine is NFL teams should follow Seattle's footsteps and take shots on second, third chance quarterbacks rather than pay a guy just because he's already in their building. If you have a guy in your building who hasn't proven to you that he can consistently win playoff games, you shouldn't be giving him a $50 million contract. You should opt to do what Seattle did and trade him, a la what they did Geno Smith, or let him walk and then go into free agency. And if you look at this free agency class, Daniel Jones, Malik Willis, trade for Mac Jones, trade for Will Levis, trade for Anthony Richardson, and bring one of those guys in for a year and see if you got something, or a 2-year deal and see if you got something. Because what Seattle did here with Sam Darnold on such a team-friendly deal, I think he's under $30 million a year.
Yeah,
And it
around
hit.
there.
And now they have the 6th most cap space in the NFL going into free agency. The team that just won the Super Bowl. You look at a team like Miami, committed to Tua. You look at a team like Arizona, committed to Kyler. For a second there, it looked like Jacksonville, committed to Trevor Lawrence, was going to fall into this same boat. Cleveland, we all know they committed to Deshaun Watson and what that meant for that franchise.
Man, he's still under contract? Dang. I feel like he's been there forever.
Exactly. You know, you obviously see the good version of my strategy here in Seattle. I'm not going to pretend that there isn't a bad version. The Jets did the bad version this offseason. They signed Justin Fields to a 2-year deal. But you know what? That shit didn't work out. And guess what? It's off their hands. They can wipe it clean right now. Yeah. Miami has to either eat a ton of dead cap getting rid of Tua or find somebody to trade him, and you're basically going to have to include picks to get somebody else to eat that contract. This is it. Listen, if you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Lamar Jackson, whatever, pay the guy. But I think what Seattle showed here is nobody should feel that their hand is forced to pay a guy just because he's in the building. And I think the prime example of that, Houston Texans. If CJ Stroud doesn't pick it up next year, don't give him $55 million a year.
I'll trade him now.
But I'm just saying, why would you commit elite level money to a guy just because he's in your building? And Seattle has shown that you can win without having that top 5 quarterback. You know, I'm obviously bigger on Jalen Hurts than most, but our past 2 Super Bowl champions, the team hasn't been about the quarterback. It's been about the team. And whether it's deferring money on the contract or getting a team-friendly deal like Seattle got on Sam Darnold, giving somebody a chance, that is a pathway to victory. What will never be a pathway to victory is committing $50+ million to a quarterback who's maybe at best fringe top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your point. Teams are going to start taking more chances on these,
and they should.
These crazy prospects coming out of college that just didn't end up panning out. But I think it depends on who your coach is. And I really do think that matters more than anything, because you could have had anybody back there taking snaps for the Jets. They would have looked worse than their potential, than what they could have been. Honestly, honest to God, I think I think Justin Fields could be a game manager with the right coach. I think he could be. He played under freaking Aaron Glenn, the defensive coach, whose team didn't have an interception the whole season.
No,
So
I'm not blaming the Jets' failures on Justin
yeah,
Fields when I say that, but I'm saying their thought process from their general manager standpoint of why would I
that
commit
was
a ton
good.
of money to, and this is why they shouldn't trade for a Kyler Murray. They shouldn't trade for a Geno Smith. There are enough guys. Maybe trade for a Will Levis. Maybe trade for a Mac Jones. Maybe trade for an Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
Maybe give Malik Willis a Sam Darnold-esque contract and roll the dice with that. But I'm not because the salary cap's going to be what, $300 million, somewhere
it's
around
going
that
up.
range.
Yeah,
Let's just call it 300 million. I'm not committing 1/6 of my salary cap to a guy that I don't know if he is an elite game changer in my favor in the biggest moments, when I could spend that money on 2 to 3 elite playmakers. Look at the Sam Darnold contract. What that allowed Seattle to do was bring in Cooper Kupp, their leading receiver in the Super Bowl. It allowed them to bring in DeMarcus Lawrence, who was massive for them all season long. It allowed them to continue and keep Ernest Jones, who had 13 tackles in the Super Bowl. If they paid Sam Darnold $55 million, two of those guys aren't there.
yeah. You know what? The thing is, bro, like everybody knew a Kyler Murray and Tua getting signed was a bad, even Trevor to an extent. Everybody knew that
You
it
can
was a
say
bad
that.
signing.
You can say that, but no, they didn't. I was making content when Tua got that contract, man, and I criticized it heavily because, hand up, I mean, for anybody that's new, I got to be lower on Tua than most people on the planet. Like, there's
I think
backups.
everybody's on your level now. I think
But
they're
I've
there
been
now.
on this level. Like, there are backups that I would have taken over Tua for the past few years. And when he got paid, I remember saying what a mistake it was, and Dolphins fans lit me up, saying I didn't know what I was talking about. And again, I'm not going to claim to be Nostradamus. I've gotten my fair share of takes wrong too. But there, when you have an elite quarterback, you don't need to pay him a big time deal to find out.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they're enjoying their bag now, because after this last season, the quarterback market is going to balance out for sure. Especially, none of these quarterbacks have to really get paid soon, except for Stroud. We still got 2 more years before Caleb, Drake even get considered. So, like, I think Stroud. Who else is drafted with Stroud?
Bryce Young. Right, Bryce Young's in it. I think they picked up his 5th-year option. I'd have to see continue. I mean, they were 8-9 this year.
They gotta get him another weapon. That's facts.
I know the playoff game was a good showing, and I'm not claiming it wasn't, but I'm not giving a guy $55 million a year that's never led my team to a winning season.
There is nobody in the NFL there's 5 quarterbacks that are deserving of that kind of money. It doesn't a top 5 quarterbacks.
I'm not giving Bryce Young more than $40 million a year right now.
That's fair. He hasn't won anything.
Like, yeah, like I'd rather just take my chances with somebody else at that point in time.
You can argue you can have the same amount of success with Malik Willis as Bryce Young. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. And listen, Bryce got better this year. There's a reason that these rookie quarterbacks, they got the 5th-year option. So we'll see Bryce next year in Carolina. He'll be there the year after that as well. So plenty of time to prove it for him. Didn't mean to turn into some Bryce Young slander fest there. I'll stand on 10 toes down on the Tua slander though. Your first lesson.
My first lesson is not the most important lesson, but special teams, it matters so much now. Like it's like a whole
all 3 phases.
I feel like until this year specifically, it wasn't really emphasized. Nobody really cared about, oh, their special teams is bad, so they couldn't be contenders. I feel like now it's such a huge advantage, especially with the rules changing the last couple of years. It's
The
changed.
kickoff rules, absolutely.
Yeah, the kickoff has changed so much. And you get a guy like Shaheed in the freaking every punt. It
Well,
seemed like was in the 5-yard line.
And not only that, but now these elite kickers put you in field goal range because
Midfield, bro.
because here's how drives are starting to work. And it's not going to be a perfect science, but if the ball goes out the back of the end zone, you're starting with the ball at the 35. Well, now for these kickers, you got to pick up 15 fucking yards, and you're
Bro,
and
first down and you're there.
and you're in scoring range. It used to be when we were growing up, you start at the 20, you have to get, I mean, you had to get to like the 35, 40 to even consider. You had to get 4x the amount
35.
of yards. You had to get 4x the amount of yards that you have to get today. So obviously, special teams has a much bigger impact on the game because for a team like the Jaguars and the Cowboys that have these kickers that shit, we'll try it from 65, no problem.
Aubrey,
because I recently went back and I watched some of the old Super Bowls for a tier list video ranking the Super Bowls of the last 20 years. And dude, the way that they were talking about some of these kicks, they were like 45-yarders, and they were like, this is the longest kick in Super Bowl history. I'm like, what?
Bro,
like I couldn't believe it. So 1,000%, man. And you know, I don't know if you plan on bringing this up. The NFC Championship to me was the two best teams in football this year, the Rams and the Seahawks. That game was strictly decided on special teams, on the punting from Dixon on Seattle and the muffed punt from the Rams.
The one in the regular season too. The matchup in the regular season.
Punt return
is
what started the comeback. So and that is what gave Seattle home field advantage for the playoffs.
For real. And the thing is, like, I don't know if you remember Sebastian Janikowski, the kicker for the Raiders, bro.
I do.
But I think I remember he made like a 59-yarder, and it was like the longest in league history or something at the time. And I'm like, yo, who would have thought now dudes would be kicking from
now
midfield?
Half the kickers in the league are attempting that. No problem.
Someone's going to make a 70-yarder next year. And like, I have a feeling it's going to happen. But it's just such a crazy advantage to have when you have a punter who I feel like the Seahawks, they had a top 3 or 4 kicker, he may be the best punter. And dude, they had the best returner in the game.
If we listed the guys that could have been Super Bowl MVP, I'm not bullshitting you. If it was a ballot the way that it's like NBA or like MVP voting where you rank them 1 through 5, I would have had Seattle's kicker and Seattle's punter on my ballot.
The thing is, if Barnard wouldn't have scored that touchdown, I think he would have got it, bro. If they didn't score it, think about it.
Dude,
they just won all field goals.
I placed a bet before the game on Witherspoon, and it was $5 to win 630. And dude, when they overturned that fumble to being an interception instead, I was like, you guys got to be kidding me. But for real, Myers just set the record. I mean, you talk about special teams in the Super Bowl. He just set the record for most field goals made in a Super Bowl at 5. So
Drake May spot them the ball with a short field and had the Barnard touchdown. And Myers probably would have made another field goal for 6. He would have got that trophy.
Yeah, special teams, special players, all 3 phases, absolutely. My second lesson is kind of one that you alluded to earlier. So I thought you might go there. I now think the most important spot, I'll word it that way, on a football team is head coach. I think head coach has overtaken quarterback.
That was my third point. So
okay, so cool. We got the same point here. You look at the playoff teams this year. Mike McDonald, elite. Sam Darnold, not elite. I wouldn't say Sam Darnold's elite. Sean McVay, elite. Matthew Stafford, elite. Kyle Shanahan, elite. Brock Purdy, not elite. Dave Canales, to be determined, but has shifted the culture in Carolina. Bryce Young was getting benched before he was there. Ben Johnson, elite. Matt LaFleur, elite. Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, elite.
He wins. I mean, he wins. Winners win.
Those were your head coaches in the NFC. AFC, Sean Payton, elite. Jim Harbaugh, elite. Andy Reid missed the playoffs, to be fair.
He'll be back.
Liam Cohen, I mean, Liam Cohen is, in my estimation, elite already because he turned Trevor Lawrence's $55 million contract into one of the worst in the NFL to an MVP candidate.
I mean, anybody who can turn a quarterback, who can elevate their quarterback, I feel like, and like it translates to winning games, I feel like you can be considered an elite coach, man. Like
DeMeco Ryans, elite. Mike Tomlin, elite. Mike Vrabel, elite. Sean McDermott, maybe not elite, but that's the beauty of having a Josh Allen. But you look at each division, I would argue you could make a case that the best head coach in the division won the division or at least was in the playoffs. Vrabel in the AFC East, best head coach. Tomlin in the AFC North, best head coach. Liam Cohen and DeMeco Ryans, you could argue they were within one game of each other, both made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Andy Reid is the only one where it gets a little wonky, but maybe. I mean, Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh aren't slouches by any means. Nick Sirianni isn't my favorite head coach, but he was better than every head coach in the NFC East this year. Ben Johnson, NFC North. Dave Canales, NFC South. Mike McDonald, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, all won 12-plus games. And you could pick any one of those guys as your best.
Yeah,
but
and
we
goes back to what you said, bro.
Mahomes missed the playoffs. Lamar missed the playoffs. Josh Allen doesn't make a conference championship. Coaching has taken such a step forward in the last couple of years that now it's more important that you get that right than anything. If you have a great head coach and miss on a quarterback, you'll figure it out. Look at the Niners. They had Shanahan, and they traded a plethora of picks to get Trey freaking Lance. Like, Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft. And I'm not trying to say, oh, my God, Brock Purdy, like, without Shanahan would be nothing. But had he not gone to the 49ers, are we sure he's a starter? Or would he have just always been a backup and never developed to where he got?
They got it cut.
But since you had an elite head coach in Shanahan, you figured that shit out. Elite head coaches figure shit out, man.
Now, mystery relevant, it might make all pro next year. Who
knows?
If
you don't have an elite head coach, it results in so many shortcomings for your team. Look at Philly this year. They went into the year with the best roster, but because their head coach couldn't overcome poor offensive coordinator, they were bounced in the first round by an injury-riddled team with far superior coaching.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to what you said about the quarterbacks. If your coach can bring the best out of a quarterback on a good deal, that gives you roster flexibility. You can go out and get big names or even just contributors like the Patriots did and like the Seahawks did this offseason. And look where they made it to. So, I mean, coordinators too, to an extent. You look at the teams that have dropped within the last 2 or 3 years, and them losing their coordinators is basically the difference between them making and missing the playoffs. But your coach, I mean, he has to be able to overcome that, at the end of the day. That's why people are saying Sirianni may not have that much longer, in Philly.
Apparently, reports came out that his seat's the hottest it's ever been. Like, if they're not better this year, he's out.
And that makes sense. I mean, I don't know who your offensive coordinator is.
It's Sean Mannion, the quarterback's coach from Green Bay. He's kind of like accredited with developing Jordan Love into what he is. I had the same initial reaction that you had, looked more into him, and saw every Packers fan was pissed that they let him go, and Packers fans were begging the team to fire the offensive coordinator and promote Mannion. That way they didn't lose him. So
Oregon State, Sean Mannion, the quarterback?
Yep, ex-quarterback.
Yo, isn't he like 29 years old?
He's like 30 something. He's younger than some of the guys on the team for sure.
Yo, I watched him play as a kid.
You know what, dude? Hey, man, I'll take Philly taking a shot on him. Maybe he's the next great coach. But that's why when you look at this cycle, who is going to be good? Well, Clint Kubiak goes to the Raiders, so I now have faith that they're going to figure shit out. Jesse Minter goes to the Ravens. I just put out my way too early tier list today. Spoiler alert, I have them as a Super Bowl favorite already. because I think that Minter was such an upgraded head coach. Especially if you bring in a guy who can almost guarantee his side of the ball is top 15 regardless of personnel.
Oh, if you're elite, it has to be top 10 at minimum. If you're
I'm saying
coach.
regardless of the personnel, though.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I mean, but like obviously, if it's your side of the ball, like you're gonna go get personnel that fits it. So like that's. But like, look at what Mike McDonald did to Seattle in 2 years.
You saw what he was doing in Baltimore with all pros. He made Patrick Queen an all pro.
And look what happened. But look what happened the second he left. Their defense and whole team fell apart.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason I like the Steelers signing a defensive coordinator. They got the dude from the Raiders. They had a middle of the pack defense, the Raiders last year. And now the Steelers have the highest paid defense, and we bring in a guy like that. But man, I'm still shocked about Sean Mannion. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I remember him playing Marcus Mariota, Oregon versus Oregon State, like it was yesterday.
That tracks.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
What's your second lesson here?
Oh, my second lesson?
Yep.
Oh, everybody thinks that these quarterbacks, you need a top guy to win a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold proved that even you don't need a top 10 quarterback to win a Super Bowl. The thing is, when you have an elite team around you and when you have depth, that's why everybody was predicting the freaking Philadelphia Eagles to go so far in the playoffs because you guys had the deepest roster. The Lions had a very deep roster. When you have a quarterback, and Hurts is still, he just got a new contract, a year ago? But when you have a quarterback that can rise in big games, I think that's more valuable than having a guy who's arguably a top 10 quarterback, like a guy like Justin Herbert, who clearly doesn't play as well.
Would you say that your lesson is you more so value clutch than stats?
I just feel like the combination of it's really a combination of coaching, but having a team over quarterback, I feel like we're at the point, because Jalen Hurts was Super Bowl MVP last year, but like you said, that was Saquon and the defense.
That was the story of the season for sure. Jalen Hurts, I think, was the correct MVP last year, but the story of we did the NFL All 100 players this year. Saquon got number 1. Like
it's a trend, but it's a trend now. Team over quarterback. That I feel like that would be.
It's not a necessary pushback because I don't disagree. Do you think you feel that way because the NFC won the last 2 Super Bowls? Because the AFC has been, and it still just kind of will be, the conference of QBs, whereas the NFC has been the conference of team construction.
100%.
Like if you list, and when we get to it next week, when we list the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFC, everybody's first 4 are all in the AFC.
Yeah. That is why you got guys like Mahomes missing the playoffs, Josh Allen losing to inexperienced quarterback / you got Josh Allen,
most complete team. That's Seattle was the most complete team this year. Philly was the most complete team last year. They're both Super Bowl champions.
You can even argue an elite defense is more important than an elite quarterback, because all the teams in the AFC.
I mean, that's fair though. Who made the playoffs?
Exactly.
Denver, Houston, Chargers, Bills, Patriots. I don't know. Their defense looked pretty fucking good in the Super Bowl though. Still, so Pittsburgh. Jacksonville, maybe they're not.
Jacksonville's defense was good.
we don't see. Chicago made the playoffs though, and that defense.
That is true. But you look at San Francisco, their defense was getting out there played by practice squad dudes, and they won a playoff game off of basically defense and dump offs to McCaffrey. So.
They're playing Kevin Patullo, but I hear you. I agree with you in this. I agree with you in the sense of, I do think that for a while, the success of Brady into the success of Mahomes skewed our vision so heavily to favor elite quarterbacks rather than elite teams, because we're kind of used to that in the NBA. Who wins in the NBA? The elite players. But how many guys impact the game at once? 10. So you're 1/10 of the game. In football, the quarterback is 1 out of 22 guys on the field. But you factor in the fact that the same guys in the NBA that are on offense play defense, it's 1 out of 10 the whole time.
Yeah.
It's 1 out of 44 guys that are starting, but 53-man rosters, the quarterback ends up being, 1 out of 53 on his own team impacting the game.
Yeah, and that's why I think if anything, this season has like cemented Mahomes' legacy so much more because
Yeah.
what he did was like so impressive. And I don't think he's gonna go on a run like that probably for the rest of his career. He's probably gonna win a couple more Super Bowls. I would be shocked if he doesn't.
Unless he starts taking Brady pay cuts.
He's already on a good deal right now.
He's on a good deal, but if he's got to keep this pace because I think that gets underrated so much about Tom. How many and listen, his wife was the most rich supermodel in the world. Like they were swimming in money. So I get it. But the pay cuts he took allowed New England to continue to bring in guys. It allowed New England to get Darrelle Revis towards the end of his career and have him be the head of their secondary for a long time, to pay a Stephon Gilmore, to keep Rob Gronkowski, to fill out such a strong defense. Like that, Brady taking these pay cuts allowed that. So we talked about it with Darnold before. Now, it wasn't like Darnold had much of a choice based on what his market is, but what he was making gave Seattle the ability to have a DeMarcus Lawrence, an ability to have an Ernest Jones, two big pieces on that defense. So I 1,000% agree with you. Elite team, elite roster over elite quarterback every time.
Yeah, remember with Darnold, everybody was saying when he lost that playoff game that he cost himself so much money, remember? Because he stunk it up on the Vikings.
Did. To be fair, he did cost himself money.
Imagine
it all worked out, but
imagine if he would have just played okay in that game. Seattle may not even be in the Super Bowl, right? They might have not have won the Super Bowl at all,
So your third lesson was the same as my second one, right? Kind of basically head coach. So this is the last lesson. I believe going forward, every quarterback in the NFL that's going to win has to have some version of mobility. And I know that I put it third because I think a lot of people kind of realize that. I really realized it in that Rams Seattle game in which it was 3rd and 4th and goal both times. Seattle on 4th and goal dropped into cover 9. They had 2 pass rushers, bro. And
because Devontae Adams.
But in Stafford, there was nowhere for him to go, and he wasn't fast enough to make a play on the ground. You could never, and obviously, like these are higher end, you could never have done that to Josh Allen. He's scoring a touchdown with his legs if you're dropping 9 back in coverage.
All he has to do is fall forward under the center.
And like Sam Darnold, he didn't rush for a lot in the Super Bowl, but the way he was maneuvering the pocket.
That's what I was going to ask.
The mobility that you have there. The pocket passer's dead, dude. You have to have some version of legs to you. And at the high end, you're Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. In the middle, I think you have to be Sam Darnold, Jordan Love, where if it's open, you could go get 20 yards on a run.
Yeah.
But you can't be Stafford, where a 9-yard run looks like the greatest play ever for you.
And that's why Jared Goff and Tua are probably
because Tua can never and I feel for Tua because he just can't run, because if he gets hit again, it's like he's clocked and it's over. But
he shouldn't even be playing now. It's not like he's good.
A guy like Justin Herbert showed this year. Yeah, I'll make that an adaptation to my game. A guy like Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl both times was the leading rusher for Philadelphia.
Yeah,
like his legs is what got him there. You look at Brock Purdy, some of his best plays this year. The mobility is a huge deal for him.
Yeah.
You talked about it earlier when we were talking about how New England could have been better in this game. Design some runs for Drake May. They're begging you.
I was saying the same thing, bro.
So, I think every quarterback going forward will need some version of wheels. I think that they kind of all know this. it was just this one was my weakest of the three lessons. I'm willing to admit that, but it was something that was kind of reaffirmed to me watching these games.
Oh no, it's 100% correct. And maybe the passing touchdowns look good for a guy like Matt Stafford who just won MVP, but
Yeah,
who
I
knows
just
after this season?
I think Stafford's the last of that vibe.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine imagine Sean McVay with an athletic quarterback? It just opens up a whole new type of playbook for him. So
Well, that's why I wanted them to trade for Anthony Richardson. I still kind of want it just to
wow,
see.
I don't know about that.
I mean,
Who
somebody's going to
knows?
have to sit behind Stafford for a year at some point to develop.
This is probably gonna be Ty Simpson. We'll see though.
We will certainly see.
Or
Um,
Nussmeyer.
I could see that. We end talking about quarterbacks. Next week, we're going to be talking about quarterbacks. It's not set in stone yet. You'll at least have me and JaVon up here to give our top 10 quarterbacks. I'm looking to get a third guest for the podcast next week for us. It'd be 3 top 10 quarterback lists. Nobody's going to know each other's lists going into it. Should spark some debate, should spark some controversy. So just because the NFL season's over doesn't mean content's stopping. In fact, some of the content in this year, when it's all speculative and we're not talking about things that actually happened and it's arguments off of what ifs and could have beens, to me, it's some of the best content. So
Those are my favorite, to be honest.
yeah, right next to predictions. Predictions are my favorite.
Oh yeah.
So make sure you're subbed for that. JaVon, check out his socials linked in the comment section down below. We will see you guys next Wednesday. Peace.
Yes, sir.